So first time our friendship relations with my friend Darin and his family started from this window, as you see, because I lived in this house first 1 week of my stay in Syracuse when I came in 2014 as a Hubert Humphrey Program Fellow. Then as my professional interests and work and study related to disability issues and social inclusion of people with disabilities, I immediately noticed interesting scene. So while I was looking through the window, I saw there's someone playing a basketball. That's a neighbor's yard, and I got interested, and that was a Grace, Darin's daughter. And Grace has Down syndrome, and she was doing really good basketball shooting. And I went out and started talking to her parents, and since then we're good friends. So Grace is really good at basketball. So here are two basketball fans from United States and from Uzbekistan, Grace and Shoh. They are playing their friendly basketball.
You're falling again.
Yep, my bad. I'm gonna go to my dad for a second.
Okay.
Can I take the ball now?
Yep.
Okay, they're two basketball fans. Oh. Nice defense, Grace.
With pickles. Ah! Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Oh, with pickles.
Okay. You try.
Yep. What number?
Oh, I think we're 2-2.
Yeah, 2.
Yep. Oh. Oh man. Oh, okay. Yeah, that's nice. Nice shot, nice.
Good, nice shot.
2-3, right?
Yeah. We're winning.
So now here we are at the house of Darin and Amy and their kids CJ and Grace. So we are ready for our short interview and some question and answers about the CJ and Grace and their life. Hi Darin and Amy, thank you for letting me to do this video with you. Interview and questions and answers. I'll have some questions, and I would appreciate if you can give your thoughts and answers to those questions. There will be mostly around CJ and Grace. So I will start my first question. Please tell this audience of our video about the CJs and Grace and their role in your family, about their daily life, what they do, just in general about their role in this family.
Our son CJ is 18 years old. He has Down syndrome, autism, a hearing impairment, as well as ADHD. And he's doing really very well. I'll let his mom tell you about some of his roles and responsibilities at our house.
Well, CJ's day is usually dependent on what is going on. Summertime is a strange schedule, so there's a lot of different transitions from this to this. But typically, he gets up and he gets on the bus, goes to school in the morning. He comes home in the afternoon, and he has a mentor that works with him in the community. And then he, with some assistance, makes his own dinner. and then pretty much he's ready to go to bed around 8 o'clock, and that's a typical day for him.
And then we also have our daughter Grace, who is now 15 years old, thinking that she's 25. But she has Down syndrome only. We adopted her when she was 1 day old. We picked her up at the hospital, and she is a very delightful person. She's doing very well in school. Something else I just wanted to add about CJ also has some chores that he's responsible to do in folding his clothes and putting them away in his room, as well as you had mentioned, he makes his own meal. He also takes out our trash, garbage, refuse, whatever you call it, on a weekly basis out to the road, and then brings the containers back.
I guess we're on Grace now. Grace's day is very similar. Grace attends a public high school, and she is totally included in all of her classes. She gets up in the morning, gets on the bus, goes to school, comes home, has a mentor that also goes in the community with her, comes home and with assistance makes her own dinner. Their lives are very similar because of their ages being very similar. She has chores as far as folding and putting away her own laundry. She also folds and put away the towels and the bathroom stuff, and she washes dishes. So, like Darin said, she's very delightful. She fits in this family just perfectly, and they both, I can't imagine life without them.
Did you have anything else to clarify on this question?
I think that's quite answer that covers just as a general their role in the family. So we can go to the next question. Can you also say about their achievements that you consider are important?
Achievements, as far as CJ goes, is he owns his own business, and we'll probably do another cast about that later, more in depth. He's very proud of that. He also attends Syracuse University, which is something that he wanted to do. It was one of his goals. He said from a very young age that he planned to go to the university, and we didn't know how that was going to happen, but it did. Another achievement is when they got their picture in Times Square in New York City on the Jumbotron, and that was delightful. They loved it. The other weird thing is CJ always said that he was going to stay in a hotel in New York City. He said that for years and years. I didn't know how that was going to happen, but it did. You want to say more about Grace's achievements?
Oh, Grace has so many achievements too. She is very natural at sports. She can pick up a bat, she can pick up a soccer ball or a basketball, and she just plays. She's very athletic. She has learned to ride a bicycle. She has been totally included in the mainstream classroom instead of segregated into a classroom with just the disabled children. She has been totally included in her classroom since preschool. That started at 3 years old. So from 3 to 5, and then she was in elementary. Very good programs so far. She is now in high school, totally included in her high school classes. Does have a resource room for extra help. Her academics are, what's the word I want? adapted to her skill level, but she has made progress every year. She's also become very mature since she's had a mentor and going out in the community. She also loves to play and on her iPad. She has learned to work the iPad. She has learned to work an iPhone. She has learned to work her dad's phone. Lots of things. And last year at school, she learned pieces and parts of algebra. And she got the pieces, but putting the whole thing together is hard. So she is making progress.
I would add that she's reading very well and she writes on a regular basis too. This summer she had a rare and awesome opportunity to go to Lemoyne College for a 1-week program on science, and she went there and she did the activities all with children without disabilities, and she received a certificate for her completion of that.
Wow, so many accomplishments. I knew some of them, but now I found out more. I didn't know about Lemoyne College and some new things. Thank you for sharing those achievements, because these are very important information for the people who will be watching this video in overseas, in the other countries where it's still developing, and will translate this talk in other 2 languages. Then my next question will be, how do you overcome challenge when you see CJ or Grace face in family or in school or general public life?
How do we overcome challenges? Well, there's been many challenges. There's been medical challenges with both of the children, and Amy's done a wonderful job with that. There's been challenges in advocating for them within the school system. There's been challenges in having them accepted and supported both in society as well as with certain ones of our family members. How have we overcome those? What we've worked very hard to do is we advocate for them. I used to say when CJ was little that he couldn't speak for himself, so I had to speak for him. And I felt very strongly that both of them, from the time they were born, needed to be valued and treated as equal and active citizens.
I think Darin stated it very well. We try to advocate, we try to, educate people on what this disability is, what their accomplishments are, and how we've raised them to be. We have 3 other children, and we haven't treated CJ or Grace any differently in raising them than we did our 3 older girls. So challenges, like Darin said, we've had many, and we've had many chances to advocate and educate other people about disabilities and how it is possible to be in the community, to be a valued member of society.
We've also had regular meetings with school officials, and we told the school officials that, listen, just because our son or our daughter has a disability doesn't mean that they're not equal to the rest of the students, that they should have the same rights as the other students to be able to go to school, to be fully included, and to get a good education. We've also, the 2 of us together, and we've taken CJ and Gracy along to go and speak with politicians in Washington, D.C. at the national level. We've had them meet with people. CJ was just in, I think it was kindergarten, wasn't it, when he met his first politician. They were having a raffle, and they were offering to have lunch with a senator, and we purchased that, and the senator had lunch with CJ. He was still learning to speak at that time, and I taught him how to shake his hand and to say hello to the senator. So we also work very hard at having them be self-advocates so that they can speak for themselves. And one of the things I think that I would add, not to be long-winded, is that it's important that they learn to say no, and that that's okay, that they aren't made to think that they have to do everything everyone tells them to do, because that makes life dangerous for them.
Yeah, that's great. Advocacy and helping them to stand for themselves is so important, like for their future being independent. So these are, I think, very important messages you are giving to parents living in other countries having similar children. So next question might be a little hard to ask even. Have you ever considered sending Grace or CJ to institution or living in institutions, not in a family?
Never. When CJ was born, the doctor asked us and gave us the opportunity for him to go to an institution, in a state institution, instead of coming home with us. And we said no, that he was going to come home with us. He's our son. Grace is our daughter. And I've learned, having been on the provider side of services for people with developmental disabilities, that the best place for them is in their home with their family. That's my opinion and perspective.
And I totally agree with Darin. When the doctor, I was a little appalled that the doctor even said that to us in this day and age, and as much progress as we've made in inclusion for people with disabilities. He said that, and right away I said no, absolutely not. He's our son. We're going to treat him just like we treated our other children. He can accomplish anything that he wants to, and we were told by a nurse that first of all, he's a baby first, and then he has Down syndrome, and second of all, you'll get what you expect. So our expectations have been very high for our children. Have we had to change those sometimes? Yes. But we do have very high expectations for their future and for their success in life.
Since we are still on this topic, institutionalization is quite huge issue in other countries, in developing countries. I want to give a couple more questions, if you don't mind, on this. Why do you think some parents accept that offer or recommendation of doctors of sending babies to institutions? Why they think the children should be going to institutions? And what would you suggest to those parents who don't bring the babies to home, but they send them to the institutions?
The doctors that recommend, it used to be in this country, in the United States, that babies with disabilities, with developmental disabilities, always went to the institution. That they were going to be sent there automatically unless the parent demanded that they be able to come home with them. And I think that the logic or the reasoning behind this was that the institution and that the physicians and the professionals know more than what the family does, and that the family can just get on with their lives and forget about this child, that they'll let other people, authorities, take care of the child. That's changed over the years here in the United States. What would I say to parents who have put their child in an institution? I would say a couple of things. One is no one can decide for you. That's your own choice, and your choice should be respected. That if you have any inclination to visit that child or participate in that child's life, that would be valuable and that would be helpful, and to advocate for that child. And if at some point you ever have an inkling or a feeling like, maybe they can come back home, that would be something that would be a big celebration.
Tell me, the question again was
So why
do you think?
yes, do you think some parents put their children with disabilities in institution?
Right. The first thing that came to my mind was fear. Fear of the unknown. Fear of, how am I going to take care of this child? What is it going to be like in 15 years? I think it's fear of the unknown. And there are a lot of unknowns. So I would say that that's the number one why.
That's very big question. Actually, still maybe someday we'll talk more about it,
Okay.
because there are a lot of questions about this piece which I'm personally interested from parents' perspective. Okay, let's move on to the next question. How do you see CJ's and Grace's future? Like, if you can be more specific, like, what are the goals do you think they should have? Or, I mean, as a parent.
We see them both as having a very bright future and a productive future as an active citizen in their community and with their family, that they will have their own home, that they will be able to live independently with support. That's the main idea. And what's really exciting is the idea of each of them to have their own business that they would be able to do on their own, to not just make money, but also to be able to contribute and have activities and things to do on a daily basis that's their responsibility.
I see, at this point in their lives, I see the both of them being together in their own home. Grace loves to take care of her older brother, and sometimes she can redirect him when he's having trouble. She can redirect him more than we can. I see, like I said, both of them living together with supports that are needed, and there will be some for CJ. We know that, we accept that, and we'll just see when that time comes what supports that he does need. And we're not going to overdo that, because we want him to be as independent as possible, as the same for Grace.
The other thing I just thought of was that family is an important support, a wide diversity of family, aunts, uncles, cousins, brothers, sisters, as well as parents, that everyone is having a relationship, a positive relationship with the individual, and then that you build the relationships and the friendships like we did earlier at Sam's Club, and we've been doing that for a long time, or with their local barber, or their local butcher, or the local whoever it is that they go to on a regular basis, the grocer, what do you say? The bank, financial institution, and that they go at the same time on a regular basis so that they see the same people and interact with the same people over and over again, because that's how we build relationships, and they should also have the opportunity to.
I want to ask some specific questions. As parents, in what ways do you support their independent living? Like, their independent mobility, their communication, the learning. Like, how do you support them? Is there any forms of support you provide them that other people can learn from you? I know for CJ's you have some device that you can track or watch his movements.
Yes, and there's a variety of things that we've done, but from very early on when they were infants, they had what's called early intervention, and they had speech therapy and physical therapy and occupational therapy and developmental therapy, and they had a lot of this as children. We thought it was very, very important that they learn how to communicate with others in a way that they'll understand. I think that's paid off because their speech is understandable by most people. So that was one of the keys. The other thing is just teaching them to help take care of themselves as far as hygiene and bathing and this sort of thing. CJ does have a device, and I know I went in and got it, but I don't know where I put it. It's a GPS device, and I'll get it so that we can see it while Amy's talking. And his GPS device, we can look and see where he's at on our phone, so that in the event that he gets lost or he takes off, we can track him fairly quickly.
Thank you.
CJ and his tracking device. The reason we have that is because CJ is a wanderer. He likes to leave the house. Mainly he walks to the university, which is about, 10 blocks, 12 blocks away. He knows right where to go. He knows where his classroom is. He knows everybody in the cafeteria. So that's another thing as far as building community. I'm getting off of the subject, I know. But I get so excited when I think about him being in the program that he is at Syracuse University and all of the progress and maturity he has gained.
Okay, so I found it.
Yeah.
And this is the pocket sleeve that it comes in, but it looks like this.
So, can you please explain, I think, how it works?
This goes in his pocket, and it's fastened, it goes in here, and then it's fastened with a clip, a magnetic clip that other people can't open, including him, without a special device to open it up.
So it cannot be opened?
It cannot be taken off of him,
okay.
Is basically the idea. Then we have, my phone is charging.
Sure, yeah, you
Your
can
phone
just...
is in there, but anyway, there's an app on the phone, and it's called, the name of this particular brand, there's lots of different ones. This is called Angel Sense, and it was developed specifically for people with disabilities.
Okay. So that device will be attached, clip on CJ, and on your phone, through your phone, you can see where he is, right?
Yes, and anyone who has the app and the password can see where CJ is at any given time on a map that it shows on the app. So they have this for him at the school. His teacher has it. People who work with him, and his mom, and me. So here you can see he's at home, because here it is.
Yeah.
He was in transit here. There he was at Sam's Club. And then if you want, you can click on Sam's Club, and it shows the general area. There's also another part of the app that shows where he was walking. Can you show that, Amy? Do you know where it is?
Well, now he's at Westcott Street.
Oh, so it's now
Right.
it's this device is on.
Mm-hmm.
So do you
It's
keep it
saying-
always
That's right.
on?
Yes.
It charges overnight,
Okay, I see.
But
Daily,
daily,
daytime.
every day.
Okay, so now it's showing that CJ is at home because this
It's
device is
It's
at
right
home.
home.
Right.
So okay. So it's connected through GPS through a system.
Mm-hmm.
As well as cellular towers. It utilizes both.
That's really helpful. I think that's great. That you don't have to hold him all the time, but you know where he is.
Right. Right.
So
And
you
we know
feel-
he's safe.
you know he's safe. And you said his teachers at school
Yes.
have
They
same
all
app.
have the same app on their phones.
And we can also listen. We can hit
Dial
a
in.
certain number and listen to hear what he's doing, or what's
Hear
being
what's going on around him.
and
Oh,
what's
really?
being said to him. So not only do we have a location, but we can also have some audio. And then, I don't know if it's Google or who it is. I think it's Google that has all the pictures of the different places.
Right.
So it will show a picture of the place where he is.
What's this app is called? What's the program device like?
Angel Sense.
Angel Sense.
Uh-huh.
Okay,
ANGEL, capital SENSE.
great. Thank you very much. I think this is going to be really helpful information for many parents.
Good.
Let's get to the next question. Do you receive any support from outside, such as government or non-profit organizations, such as agencies or community, school, family, and what kind of assistance do you receive?
We
You
do
can tell them this.
we receive government assistance through, now that CJ is an adult, he's 18, he receives Social Security money. He gets a check each week to help, each month, I'm sorry, to help with his support. In addition, he gets Medicaid, which is health insurance, to help pay for his health care. That's also from the government. Through that Medicaid, he gets support from an agency that provides a staff person part-time to work with CJ, so that he can go out into the community and do activities and that sort of thing. In addition, they both get the support of the school system, which is also government, and transportation that way. The other support we get from family is when we go back to Indiana, where we're from. Our family supports in interacting with CJ and Grace and doing activities with them, or giving Amy and I an opportunity to go on a date out by ourselves alone while they're doing things with them. Or they like to take them out and do activities with them, go swimming, stuff like this. What other, am I missing any other supports?
No, Grace's assistance.
Oh, Grace receives adoption assistance from the state of Indiana. So instead of getting Social Security, she gets an adoption assistance check until she turns 18. And so I got
think that's it.
How about family support workers come help with CJ and Grace?
Yeah, that's through the Medicaid
And
waiver.
we could talk more on a different time if
Yeah.
you want to talk more about that, because we have what's called the self-determination waiver. And basically all the waiver means is it's through Medicaid, it's paid for by Medicaid, but not the health insurance part. It's a different part of Medicaid. And they get supports through that, which we pay through an agency that provides supports. They help us find, we call them mentors instead of staff, because that's what we want for our children, is a mentor instead of a staff person just taking care of them. We want a mentor that can show them more independence.
Right.
So that's the supports that we get.
Okay.
Can you go get the book that she did of their summer together? We could show that on the video. So to give an example of the kind of support they were getting this summer, the one staff member kept a scrapbook or a photo with photos and notes and things like this. And it was a very nice gift when she had to leave to go back to college. She gave it to Grace as a goodbye present. And Amy's getting that so that you can look and see some of the different activities they did this summer. Can you see it okay?
Yes.
Are you getting
Yes. So these are, if you can
Julia.
comment on these pictures.
This is Julia.
Yeah.
Julia worked with Grace. Alyssa is right here, and she worked with CJ. And they did things like going swimming. This is them hanging out. They got to play basketball together at Syracuse University gym.
They went to a baseball game and ate hot dogs and more hot dogs.
This is them just having a good time.
Yep.
And different pictures of CJ and Julia, Grace and Julia.
You can probably flip through more than one page.
More basketball, selfies.
Yeah.
It's going to be too long if you go every page.
Okay, swimming.
Library. Cooking on the
cooking.
friend's grill.
They helped support Grace, and she did her own barbecue, made her own sandwich.
She walked the dog for the first time all by herself.
Oh yeah.
And she swam all by herself. This is when they went to SU, more of the thing at basketball.
Very happy moments.
Yes, very.
Well, this is Berry Park.
Berry Park, yeah.
That's a local park that we can walk to from our house, and they take the kids there and do things with them, and we've taken the kids there and done things with them.
She just left they've left very nice notes for CJ and Grace about how much they enjoyed the summer and enjoyed being with the kids, and they treated them like an equal. That's what was so cool about it, is they don't see the disability. They just see teenagers, come on, let's go do stuff. And that's what they did all summer, and it was priceless.
The other thing that we've noticed is with Grace being fully included, and also CJ now going to the university, and that they're not in places with only people with disabilities. They've gained more language, more vocabulary, and more social skills with how they interact with people. Whereas if they were contained with people only that had disabilities, we're thinking that that probably wouldn't have happened. As a matter of fact, they may regress or go backwards and do more things that are inappropriate. And sometimes in the past, we've seen situations where CJ was put in that situation and he just got angry about being in a classroom with only kids with disabilities.
Thank you. And my last question is, there are parents like you who have children with development disabilities or different kind of disabilities in the developing countries, in the countries where I come from. I read their notes, I read their talks on the social media that they feel very sometimes anxious, they sometimes feel very depressed because they don't know sometimes what to do. So what kind of recommendations would you do, would you give to those parents? What do you think based on your experience? Like, how should they treat that child? They should expect the child to be, as they say, normal like other children, or they should look those children different based on the experience? What do you think? Like, they should change the expectations? You know better. So what could you suggest?
What I've learned is that you have to redefine normal, and that no one is normal. No one. I have glasses. I have some disabilities. My wife has some disabilities. You can't see them, and you may not ever know that we do unless we would tell you. Everyone has something. So your child might have some things that other people can see. And you may feel like those people are judging you, or that those people are saying, oh, you must have done something bad because you have this child. And this is not true. This just happens. Things happen where people have all different abilities. All different people do. And I would encourage you to look at your child, love your child, have expectations of your child, but not, what we say in this country is, you need to set the bar high, like in sports, to jump over the bar. You need to set it high, but not too high. Just a little bit more than where they're at right now, so that they get a little better at whatever it is. Like maybe they get a little better at lifting the spoon to their mouth when they're eating. Maybe they get a little better at talking or communicating, maybe sign language, something. The other thing is to use the resources that you have, because perhaps you don't have government support. Perhaps you don't have schooling support, but you can have family support, neighbor support. Take them along to the places where you go. Introduce them to people. And if the people are rude or disrespectful, you just say to them, that was rude or disrespectful. This is my son. This is my daughter. And they're a person, and they have feelings.
I'm going to repeat what I said before that the nurse said to me. They are children first, and then they have whatever disability they have. All children need the same thing. They need love, they need attention, they need food. That's all children. It doesn't matter abilities or disability. It doesn't matter. And you'll get what you expect.
Thank you. These are really, I think, helpful, strong messages, and the people who have really personally experienced, I think our audience will appreciate your information and your talk.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Oh, one more thing.
It's the microphone.
До свидания.
So that was Darin and Amy from their house at Westcott, Syracuse. Thank you very much.